gentlemen, welcome to the Social Slam podcast. Happy 316, everyone. I'm Cobra, and I'm joined by Alex, and hopefully we'll be joined by others shortly. We would have more people here. Unfortunately, we do have to address something a little bit quickly here. Right now, temporarily, our third co-host, Greg, he officially he has officially stepped away for a little bit. We are hopeful that he will be returning to the podcast sometime in the future. But as of right now, Greg will not be a part of the Social Sports Bad Network for the time being. I don't, again, it's, so if you're expecting to hear him again, we hope to hear from him in the future. But as of right now, he is not with us at this moment. But when he does decide to come back, we will welcome him back with open arms. We miss you, Greg. Godspeed. And so, like we said, Social Slam podcast, we're doing a special 316 edition of the podcast. Alex, right?
Yes, we are. Happy 316, everybody listening. Hopefully, you guys jump in and listen in.
Right. And of course, before we get started on talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin and 316, special shout out, of course, to the creator of our theme, FAB. That would be Fred the Shred Brum. Check him out on YouTube. He is a great extended range guitarist. Always, you know. So he delivers other great songs as well, but I chose FAB because it was the most wrestling fitting, So, like I said, we're talking. We are definitely going to be talking Austin 316. That legendary promo of his of 1996 King of the Ring. It was one of the greatest promos ever delivered post match, and it definitely ushered in a brand new character that would change the face of wrestling forever. Wouldn't you agree, Alex?
I definitely would agree. He is the main man who made the What chant so popular in WWE. He has a resume like no other, and he's the only wrestler to win 3 Royal Rumbles ever.
And not just that, but we also have to give a heads up. He had a very short, career in wrestling. He started out in the USWA. Then he would land in WCW and start forming himself a very interesting path towards success. Starting with Paul E. Dangerously, aka Paul Heyman's Dangerous Alliance. Then having a damn good tag team push with Flying Brian Pillman, and then he would segue into a singles push with having legendary matches against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and we have a bit of a rainstorm going on where I live, and so and then he would of course segue that after an injury, segue that to ECW. Where he would develop his promo skills even further, and then for a bit kind of waste away as the ringmaster until finally developing the Stone Cold Steve Austin persona.
Yeah, I definitely agree. As a person who kind of had to watch highlights of Stone Cold Steve Austin because he was popular before my time in terms of watching wrestling, but his resume beats no others. 6-time WWF champion, 2-time WWF IC champion, 4-time tag team champion WWF, and so much more. he is the reason we all smash our beer cans together and shrug our beer back and throw middle fingers up to all the haters out there because he's the main reason we all love and do that. And he has multiple WrestleMania appearances, including WrestleMania 38 a year or two ago when he fought Kevin Owens at the KO, talked mad heavy crap on Stone Cold, and he's rumored to appear this year, WrestleMania 41, to back Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania as he faces John Cena for the WWE Championship.
And how fitting it's The Rock and Austin once again. The Rock and Austin, of course, headlined 3 WrestleManias. 15, 17, and WrestleMania 19, and it's one of the greatest rivalries ever in wrestling. It is our version of Hogan and Hogan Savage. That's the best way I can describe it. And Stone Cold Steve Austin, like I said, if he didn't have that major neck injury, when Owen Hart delivered that pile driver, which unfortunately was kind of ironic to Stone Cold, if that makes sense, because earlier in his WCW career, he delivered a similar pile driver, and it delivered a same result, if you will. And so it was kind of apropos, kind of ironic that it was delivered to Stone Cold. A bit of irony. As sick as that sounds, it was the same type of scenario, the same move, the same result. The pile driver is it was a dangerous move, and it definitely robbed Stone Cold of a longer wrestling career. Then again, we also know that the injuries were starting to pile up on Stone Cold. I mean, that's why he started wearing the knee braces, if you will. He was wearing those end loader knee braces that a lot of the pro athletes wear when they're dealing with ACL injuries. So but it made his character very cool. Anywho, but that match against Kevin Owens, Alex, I know you saw that. As someone who had never watched Stone Cold Steve Austin before, what did you think of that match?
I thought it was a pretty decent match. Obviously, the build up to that was going to be on the KO show, WrestleMania, and then it turned into a WrestleMania match for Stone Cold after being out of the ring for so long and being how old he is. He still had what it takes to perform in front of those people at WrestleMania, knowing that he struggled with his neck injuries, his knee problems, and I believe he has a back problem. If I remember correctly. But like he performed really well at WrestleMania against KO, and definitely I was happy to watch him wrestle, even though it was his last match per se. Definitely was fun to see him do it. And Kevin Owens sold that stunner really well, and so did Pat McAfee in the most funniest way ever when he did the flying like air arm fling.
Yeah,
It was hilarious.
the stunner party. You're talking about the stunner party. I know what you're talking about. But I will say this about that last match. I mean, you could tell as someone who grew up watching Austin, obviously you could tell he could still go. It was a match that ended on his terms, if you will. However, I will say he couldn't do that forever. Like he couldn't come out. He definitely wasn't planning to come out of retirement, after that match, like some wrestlers do when they get the wrestling bug bite again. This was more of a, hey, I had that itch. I didn't like how I went out the last time. Hey, let's, basically, and what he meant was, hey, I went out with The Rock. That was a great match, but no one knew I was done. no one knew I was properly done, and he finally got to go out on his terms. He knew that but if you have you ever, Alex, seen matches of the past of Stone Cold Steve Austin or even Stunning Steve Austin?
I
Like I
believe
said, we're on.
I believe I watched one of the Rumbles he was in, either the 98 or 2001 Rumble. I did watch that. I watched part of the King of the
I
Ring
was
when he did that speech.
I was kind of referring to like before the injury, because if you look at a match before his pile driver injury, you can tell that the style that he had was very technical, was a very technician style of a wrestler. Whereas after the neck injury, it became more of a brawler type of injury of wrestling style. If you've and I recommend, at your free time, look up Stunning Steve Austin versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Bash at the Beach. Look up probably one of the greatest matches of WrestleMania's history, the WrestleMania 13 match with Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Even their Survivor Series match is underrated. Just look those up, because you can see the style that he had before the injury, and you're like, whoa, okay. It's a different, very different style that he was playing at, and you could tell, you know, before the injury and after the injury, it's two sides of the same coin. That's the best way I can describe it. I do recommend you watch those matches.
Yeah, I have to go check them out. And obviously, with how short his career was, it's kind of a surprise WWE waited till '09 to put him in the Hall of Fame. We can't forget to mention that. And obviously, he's big on the internet now with the Stone Cold podcast since 2015, having some legendary wrestlers and new wrestlers on the podcast,
Yeah.
making so much money off of his beer, off his podcast, and hopefully he doesn't get any scraps with the Rocket Mania, but I highly doubt that he probably won't because it's The Rock, and knowing how The Rock is, he'll probably get some chip a little bit at Stone Cold outside the ring at WrestleMania. I cannot wait to see what happens with that. Um, Definitely a
Yeah.
big resume for him. He is also the undisputed WWF champion, number one contenders tournament in 2002. And these are two Slammy Awards, which is an interesting one because that's kind of a weird WWE award they would give out kind of at the end of the year towards like Mania season. I can't remember if they're still doing that or not, but the Slammy is a definitely interesting award that he has two of them for.
I will say this, this with the Slammies, Owen Hart made the Slammies that much more important. Um, you know, there's a reason why even when Owen Hart won like two Slammy awards, well, he won one, he took the other one from British Bulldog. Um, you know, it was like a comedic award, he took it. But you could, talk about another person, who potentially could have been one of Austin's great rivals had he not been tragically killed in '99, was Owen Hart. Um, but talk about just keep talking about Austin. Um, I will say about his Hall of Fame induction. The reason why it took so long, I believe, was they had so many more they were inducting in the past, like for bigger names, that I think that if I remember correctly, the '09 Hall of Fame class was a little weaker. And if you need somebody to watch the WWE Hall of Fame, to watch any WWE event In case of emergency, break glass. But let me look that up. Let me look that up because I'm wrong about that. I could be. I could not be. Let me look that up. So yeah.
It looks like it was 3 like main wrestlers that have massive resumes, and then the other 3, well, 4, because if you count Finkel, the announcer. But
So yeah, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So no, it wasn't a bad draft class. It wasn't a bad Hall of Fame class. We had the Von Erichs, had Terry and Dory Funk Jr., had Howard Finkel, had Coco Beware, Cowboy Bill Watts, fuck him, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So again, I think that was another thing that they wanted to put Stone Cold and Ricky the Dragon together. Because those two actually had great matches too. And but Alex, I'm deferring back to you. We're kind of killing time. Hopefully more people come in. What is I know you haven't watched many Stone Cold matches, but what is your favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin match?
that's a hard one because, I'm not that familiar with his catalog. I could probably pull up YouTube, look at his catalog
But
of matches.
so while you do that, I'll tell you one of mine. Other than WrestleMania 13, and by the way, even though that is considered the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, I unfortunately never watched it as a kid because it was on pay-per-view. Back when pay-per-view was a thing, now we have PLEs and the WWE Network and Peacock. Now, but in my opinion, one of my favorite matches, with him, was a tag team match. It was Owen Hart and the British Bulldog competing for the tag team titles against Stone Cold Steve Austin and a mystery partner. Shawn Michaels basically dropped out as being his partner, and Stone Cold, had been pestered by Mankind, aka Mick Foley, about being his tag team. And Stone Cold basically shoved him away, basically said, "I don't need anyone." And it's near the end of the match, and Mick Foley comes down and he's Dude Love. The look on Austin's face when Mick Foley's coming down the ring is like, what? In my opinion, is one of my favorite matches, not because of the wrestling per se, but because of the selling and the character of Stone Cold going, what the fuck? It's just a look on his face like, who? What? No, what? And yeah, that's just something a little bit funny. Anyhow.
So after looking
So
through Stone Cold's catalog of matches, there's one match in particular in his catalog that I always seem to go back and watch. It's a non-pay-per-view Raw match when he was facing up against Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship match. The WWE Championship. That's one match I always go back to watch for Stone Cold because I did like Kurt Angle. I watched Kurt Angle matches. Obviously, I watched his match against John Cena, the prototype, and some other Kurt Angle matches. And obviously, Chad Gable now is portraying, Kurt Angle decently enough. So it seems like it's one match I always go back to watch. It's Kurt Angle and Steve Austin for the WWE Championship. It's a great grudge match between two brawlers that one is more technical in Kurt Angle and a brawler, and then Stone Cold's just being a brawler. Obviously, I think this is post knee injury, if I remember correctly, or neck injury. I can't exactly remember. But it's a match I always love to go back to watch with Kurt Angle and Stone Cold. Outside of the big ones, Ricky Tracy about Owen Hart, just kind of a random TV match. But it was a good match from what I've seen from the highlight video.
Right, right. I will also say this. Speaking of the Hall of Fame. Let's get back to as much as I want to keep talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Hall of Fame is looking to be pretty interesting. We have Triple H, Michelle McCool, Natural Disasters, and with more potential spaces to be filled. Alex, who do you think should be in the Hall of Fame? I know we asked this a while, and Ben arrived. Ben's here. Hey, happy 316. What's up, man?
What's up?
That is a tough question to answer. Who's in the Hall of Fame that should be in there because this class
Alex.
is pretty.
We'll get back to that. We need to let Ben fill this in. Ben, we're not really talking about we're talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is 316 day. So obviously you're older than I am. I have gotten to enjoy Steve Austin's career as much as I have. What is your favorite moment from Stone Cold Steve Austin? What is your favorite match of Steve Austin? And how do you think his career has shaped pro wrestling?
Well, back in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s, he was like mainstream. He was basically Hulk Hogan, basically, I guess. I mean, if you kind of like perspective wise, like everybody knew him, household name.
And you're talking about as far as star power, the star appeal.
Right. But yeah, he had it all. I mean, he started off with the stunning Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Just stunning Steve, not just there was no Stone Cold yet. That comes later. Still there, man? Ben. Say his name and he appears. Ben. Ah, crap baskets. He's having mic troubles again. Must be in a bad area. So
You don't hear me? I'm talking.
yeah, you were inaudible for some weird reason. Yep. Say it again. Ben. Check. He's having your problems again. Here we go. Yeah, he'll be right back. Ben having Discord issues. Damn, that rain's hard. Welcome back, Ben. You can really hear it. Ben, you hear me? Check in. I know he chimed in. We're gonna have to move on a little bit. We're talking about 2025 Hall of Fame class. I mean, that's what we're doing. There's obviously some spots to fill in the 2025 Hall of Fame class. Alex, who do you think would fill in a spot?
I have an interesting pick here. Obviously, we know that he's still, active in the AEW realm of wrestling. But the fact that Chris Jericho is somehow not in the Hall of Fame yet, knowing how big his resume is in WWE, ECW, and WCW, he has so many championships under his belt. And the fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is ridiculous. I don't know if it's personal vendetta or just his history behind the scenes of WWE that we don't know about his fans. It's keeping him out,
Um,
but I assume at some point
I
he'll be plugged in there.
I'm gonna chime in on that. Basically, his relationship with WWE is still good. I mean, while he was still under contract with WWE, he did with AEW. Excuse me. He actually did a WWE event. He was a part of the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold. Hey, how fitting. But Chris Jericho, yeah, he should be in a Hall of Fame, but I think he's just waiting until he retires. That's the main thing. He feels like he still has some gas in the tank. And so he's waiting until he retires to accept an offer to go into the Hall of Fame by WWE. Is there anyone else that you can think of? I mean, I could definitely tell you you are in the right area to pluck from for a Hall of Famer.
I have a big one. Kind of big in terms of the referee realm. In Earl Ebner, obviously famously known for
Ooh.
the screw job. I think the one with British Bulldog and Owen Hart when he 3 counted for no reason. He's in the TNA Hall of Fame and the GXW Hall of Fame, but he's not even in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he should be. I don't know why they're waiting so long. Obviously, the WWE is not known to induct referees, but there were a few like new active ones that are gonna get in there at some point.
Earl Hebner is iconic as a referee, not just for the Montreal Screwjob. WrestleMania 4, he made his debut because his twin brother Dave was a referee, and he was used as a double referee. If that makes sense, he was a double. Subbing in for his brother for Ted DiBiase, screwing over Hulk Hogan. Well, no, that wasn't WrestleMania. That was Saturday Night's Main. That was Saturday Night's Main Event. I think that's iconic. Earl, yes, does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I was actually thinking, like I said, you were in the right area with AEW. Dustin Rhodes, Gold Dust, obviously, should be in the Hall of Fame because he's been a wrestler long time. The Gold Dust gimmick is iconic. Not just for the entrance or the character itself, but for what it did for well, it was a legit let's call a spade a spade. It was a gay character that got over. That's the original concept of Goldust, was to be an androgynous character. So Dustin Rhodes deserves to be in Hall of Fame for doing that gimmick very well and getting it over. That alone is Hall of Fame worthy. Then you look at his career, and he was good in WCW. He was great. He's great in AEW. Having a 5-star classic with Cody. So that's one right there. Another one that should be in Hall of Fame, and a surprise that he isn't, is Haku or Meng. One of the toughest wrestlers, to ever exist. He was part of quite a few WrestleManias with Andre the Giant. He's still wrestling today, which amazes me. But hey, he does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Just because of his legend alone. But yeah, but and it's three. Like I said, it's 316. Let's get back to it. We're not done. We're not done picking the petals off this rose here. So Stone Cold has appeared. Has wrestled in. I want to say he's wrestled in about 8 WrestleManias, I think. Yeah. He's wrestled in 6. He's wrestled in 6 WrestleManias. WrestleMania 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, and 19. So it's 7 WrestleMania. And of course 38. So 8 WrestleManias. We're going to remove the elephant in the room, and that would be WrestleMania 13 because that's everyone's go-to to watch. And seriously, watch that match. It is great. But if you were to binge watch one of his WrestleMania matches, Alex, which one would you watch first, other than 13?
I would probably do. I don't know the WrestleMania number, so pardon me.
Yeah.
Where he fought The Rock. Is that WrestleMania 13, or am I just tripping?
Which first one, or the first time, or the second? The first time, second time, or third time?
Let me see the video here. I have it pulled up.
So the first time was 15, the second time was 17, the third time was 19.
This one is it was XI. XI. XIX.
So that's 19. That is 19.
Yes.
Yeah, that's WrestleMania 19. That's it. That would be his final WrestleMania before the Kevin Owens match. Yeah, that's actually a good one. Like the story build up. No one. I think the only one who knew at the time was JR. And JR could actually, what you could tell in his his voice, that he knew that this was Austin's last match, and he was delivering it as such. Obviously the fans didn't know that it was Austin's last match until like the end. And interestingly enough, Austin almost didn't make it to that Mania. Like that's a very interesting story out of this match. He almost didn't make it to that Mania. Primarily because he almost overdosed on caffeine. He got into caffeine shock. He was like so nervous. Like his anxiety built up. He drank like 8 Red Bulls. 8 Red Bulls.
Jeez.
That is too much caffeine. That is way too much caffeine. Like his heart was racing. He dehydrated himself. Like it was nuts. But and for me, if there's a WrestleMania I have to watch other than WrestleMania 13, which is the greatest match of his ever. And also that's also the WrestleMania where Sid shits himself. Ayo. I'm gonna say it's an underrated classic, but I would say watch WrestleMania 14, his Shawn Michaels match. Look, we know the headspace that early and late 90s Shawn Michaels was in, because even by his own admission, Shawn Michaels would tell you, "Oh, I was a dick." But that match, despite Shawn Michaels dealing with a very bad back, like, and I guarantee you, he was just like, "I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. I don't want to drop the title. I, he, just that bad sour mood." You could tell that, oh boy, here we go, late 90s Shawn Michaels, but he delivered a competent match despite it. despite his back injury. So I would say watch that match. I will say though the match he had against Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18 could have been a lot better. Scott Hall, of course, was dealing with a lot of demons back then. It wouldn't be until he deals with until he got help from DDP that he would break his demons. But that's anyone. Which, speaking of getting getting a little sidetracked, segueing back to the Hall of Fame class with Lex Luger in 2025. He actually said that if he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, he wants and Diamond Dallas Page to be the ones to induct them. What do you have to think about? What do you have to say about that, Alex?
I think that's a good option. Obviously, we know the history behind Lex Luger and his condition right now. Him being, attached to a wheelchair. The DDP working with him to try to stand up and try to move his muscles because obviously he has to stand at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony to talk to the audience. I think this is a good inductee for Stone Cold, or just for Lex Luger, excuse me. Two guys that know the history and then working with him and try to get him better. And I hope WWE pushes for them to induct him in the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania weekend because I'm not sure who else can induct him because obviously I've learned a bit about the history of Lex Luger that he was a total douchebag in his time of wrestling, and obviously with Miss Elizabeth, the history with them kind of puts him in the behind the scenes of kind of a bad person that no one likes to talk about because he's not really a famous face in WWE in terms of positive influence in terms of the area he was in. But
yeah, Lex Luger now is way different than the Lex Luger then. And probably the main reason that I think WWE will probably go with Lex Luger's idea to have both Sting and DDP there as kind of a physical reinforcement, if you will. Basically stand there side by side just in case he starts to teeter. Because I'm pretty sure because I know Lex Luger, he said this at in a Chris Van Fleet podcast. That whenever he speaks, oh, hey, Jayme. Whenever Lex Luger speaks, he always prepares it, from the heart. He never prepares a speech. So having, both DDP and Sting at his side while he does it is a good option. Jayme, deferring to you. Since it is 316 day, Stone Cold Steve Austin Day.
Why?
Sorry to put you in the spot. What? Do you have any favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin moments? A favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin match? Hey, and you could even defer to his stunning Steve Austin days in WCW. If you have any of those, per se, would you like to share?
Oh man, that's a loaded question there, sir. Man,
What?
if I gotta try and pick out one.
I did it easily. And Alex, he's kind of not as experienced with Stone Cold Steve Austin as I am. But and Ben, he tried, but he had to slip out because he was having major
Honestly,
issues.
it's one of my greatest memories is just the main arc of Stone Cold versus Mr. McMahon back in 1999. That whole feud, from top to bottom, was excellent. But one of my more favorite memories is when Vince McMahon was in the hospital and he took the bedpan, Mr. McMahon's bedpan, and started beating him upside the head with it. and just going to
One
work.
of the most iconic moments of Raw.
Yes. But anytime that he comes out, you know someone's going to get a stunner. I think like he stunned a lot of people in the past. But one of the funnier
In
ones
certain,
that I've
well,
seen.
also, if I can add, Jayme, in certain indie events, they do have, after all the matches are done, they do have stunner parties.
They have what?
Stunner parties.
They definitely do.
Yeah, just random Stone Cold stunners and do just goofy antics after the stunner.
But my favorite stunner would probably be when he stunned Santa Claus.
Ooh, that's something I got to ask. Now you brought up something interesting. Now we got to answer that. And we'll get done. We'll answer that after you get done, Jayme.
Yep.
In fact, that's probably going to be our closers, our favorite stunners.
I love it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, such an icon in the world of wrestling, especially during the Attitude Era. Definitely turned his career around when he went from his WCW days to the Rattlesnake. And I mean, even corporate Stone Cold was entertaining at times, and not a lot of people can make the corporate side. Yep, but
if I had an
yeah,
acoustic guitar, I would do that. I don't have an acoustic. I have electrics. I can't do that.
but yeah, that there's a lot of them. I'm also a big fan of Pat McAfee, so on a recency bias, studying Pat McAfee and watching him just totally spew beer up and literally still drowning in beer as he's laying on the ground. That was a great time too.
Right. So, I think that's the perfect way to close this out. Alex, what is your favorite Stone Cold stunner?
That's a hard one because I've seen, like I mentioned, I've seen a lot of videos of his stunners. But I think my personal favorite is when he stunned Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon kind of just died on the mat. He hit the stunner and just looked like he just
Just
died in the
flops.
middle of the
Just
ring.
flops.
He just flops
Yep.
horrendously. Austin Theories was pretty funny when he oversold it to everything on the planet. I was like, what is he doing? But Vince McMahon is a top one for me.
And as for me, my favorite stunner is the first one he delivered to Shane McMahon. Basically, Shane McMahon is giving a toast with Steve Austin. They're drinking beer, and Steve Austin knows that Shane screwed him. And Shane's looking like, oh crap. And then delivers the stunner, and all of a sudden you see this spit up of beer just up as he falls down. It's still a classic move that Shane McMahon will still do with Steve Austin when he gets stunned. It is my favorite stunner because it's the visual effect of it.
So
Sometimes the best stunners have visual effects. And Pat McAfee basically stole the Shane McMahon one, if that makes sense.
yeah, and I was going to do a kind of like a sidebar. So we just said like what our favorite stunner was, but who do you think sold the stunner the best?
Who do I think sold the stunner the best? Well, let's defer to Alex first,
All right.
because I think we have the more knowledge. Let's see what he knows.
Didn't
And then
The Rock
before we end it, we'll go who sold it the worst.
didn't The Rock sell it when he like got on his head and like did a headstand and fell back over because he over
Yeah,
like
the
flipped?
oversells. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
probably my best one that The Rock sold it that well because he is a big oversell, like over the top oversells moves. That was
Right.
a funny one for me to watch on tape in highlight reels.
Jayme, your turn.
For me, it was on a Monday Night Raw. Stone Cold Steve Austin decided to have a beer with RVD, and
Okay, that one.
he goes and misses the first time they went to stunner him, but then quickly picks up, grabs RVD by the face, all mad that he completely whiffed on the stunner, and then stuns the ever living crap out of him. And RVD almost practically does like a face plant right on Stone Cold's shoulder.
And as for me, it's an underrated sell, but it's actually very perfect. The way it's delivered. Bret Hart.
Yeah,
Bret
for
Hart.
sure.
Bret Hart understood the assignment of what the name Stunner is supposed to do, and he sold like he literally got bit by a paralyzing snake. If that makes sense. Simple,
Yeah.
it's clean, effective. But now, at the final sidebar of this subject, who is your least favorite stunner victim? Who sold it the worst?
Sorry with me.
Yep.
I think they, how long he's been doing the stunner for. We can go on forever. But who sold the stunner the worst? In my personal opinion, it's AJ Styles when he got dropped down on one knee and he kind of like bounced back and off his knee. It was a horrible sell of that because it's a move that you're supposed to sell, drop to both knees and bounce up. He got on one knee like he was proposing to Stone Cold and sold it. He kind of like crumbled and like flipped up. It was really weird to watch and it made me cringe so bad. And I was like, "What are you doing, AJ Styles? Don't do that ever again."
That is interesting. Jayme.
Well, we love to hate him, especially nowadays. But when Hulk Hogan got stunned by Stone Cold, it was probably one of the worst sells I've ever seen because his knees were just shot at that point.
You're talking about famous racist Hulk Hogan.
What,
Union
brother?
busting prick. Yep. And for me, definitely the person who took the stunner the worst is someone who is definitely not a wrestler. Definitely someone who is a scumbag piece of crap. Famous women respecter, Pumpkin Spice Palpatine himself, Donald Trump.
I knew you were
That
going
stunner was terrible. Everyone knows it. That stunner was terrible. He wasn't
He stunned the
even
orange off
in
him.
it. Yep. Yeah, it definitely rubs some of that orange spray tan off of on Stone Cold. Yeah. Anywho,
That hair versus hair
is
match.
yeah, that was terrible WrestleMania match. Definitely terrible. But it just proves everyone's point. In case of emergency, break glass. Stone Cold Steve Austin will do that for you. So like I said, that is it for the Social Slam podcast. Which of course was brought to you by Fanatics.
What?
What? Yep. Fanatics. And of course, with John Cena underway, why not get yourself some merch to celebrate WrestleMania season? After all, using the code, currently use the code SHIP24, to get free shipping on orders over $24. So that's easily a John Cena t-shirt.
Or a Final Boss shirt.
Yeah, or of course any other jerseys, especially since draft night is coming. Yeah, so when your favorite team drafts that brand new superstar in the first round, why don't you pick up a jersey, pick up a draft day hat, or go to the MLB and do the same, or the NHL, NBA, and other sports franchises, and of course, March Madness is there too. So support your favorite college in the March Madness bracket. But if you do decide to go to Fanatics, use our affiliate link in the bio wherever you get your podcasts. Show your channel some love. Fanatics.
Can I
And of
add one more
course,
thing before we close out?
go ahead.
Can everybody here and all of the viewers listening at home give me a hell yeah?
Give me a hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right. Yes. And of course, don't forget other podcasts. The Lap Down.
What?
Lap Down. Biscuits and Penalties.
What?
What? Certain Turf Podcast.
What?
What? The Hard Count.
What?
Those are all available for you to listen, so give that all a listen. Don't forget our other affiliates that are in the bio wherever you get your podcasts that tell us about us. And finally, we wanted to remind you that we were on our friend Billy's podcast. Not podcast, but stream. We were streaming the March Madness bracket today. So check out not only our channel on YouTube, the Social Sports Pad Podcast Network, but also Vol Bill 99 to see us, Alex and I, in action talking the March Madness bracket. Support him and support us. And of course, I'm Cobra. And on behalf of Alex, Jayme, and Ben, ring that bell. We'll see you all next time.
What?
Ding, ding, ding.